Hooters is a wonderful family establishment. Any male that buys a packet of M&Ms from today forward must hand in their man card because they are a soft, woke, beta, male feminist. For the last time, stop sending Pizza Hut pizza to my house. And if you want to really know how I feel about the left's woke, precious pizza, I'll show you. I'm off to Hooters with the boys. The boycott stands.
All right, well, those were clips of a man named Nick Adams, and you should get to know his name because now he's in our government. So for years, he's bragged about being an alpha male. He's complained about woke brands, and he has proclaimed his love of Hooters, which, like, I guess they have decent curly fries. Today, thanks to Donald Trump, he is the nominee for the ambassador to Malaysia. We have many, many more Nick Adams quotes that I get to read out loud to all of you. I can't wait. But first, Cenk, let me get your initial reaction to a troll in our metaphorical dungeon.
This guy, I mean, look, you're gonna love the quotes because, and a lot of MAGA thinks he's trolling too. He's kind of like a Borat type character. But that was all fun and games until he became an ambassador. So he hasn't become one yet, but Trump nominated him to be ambassador to Malaysia. This is no full-blown idiocracy. It's, I mean, the peak idiocracy. Trump, he's a troll. He's like a Borat character. He's like Colbert Report, and they took him seriously. I mean, in fact, we have a poll on tyt.com. Is Nick Adams a comic or a joke? Right, like, because I thought he was a comic. I thought he was making fun of MAGA. I mean, some of the quotes are over the top and homoerotic. It's hilarious. He's now going to represent us as the American representative to Malaysia. All right, so find out who Nick Adams is.
Okay, yeah, somebody actually made a very apt comparison to somebody else, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So Adams, if you don't know, he began his career as the youngest deputy mayor in Australian history, but then he left Australian politics and he became a motivational speaker, a conservative activist, and a political commentator right here in the United States. And Adams was an early Trump supporter back when Trump was first campaigning, and he eventually caught Trump's attention, and the two became friends, and it's really a sweet story. But Adams' nomination isn't the first time that he has received an official title from Trump. During Trump's first term, he made Adams a presidential appointee to the board of a think tank called the Woodrow Wilson Center. Adams was also an official surrogate for Trump's 2020 and 2024 campaigns. But we mentioned earlier that we had more Adams quotes. Here they come. So he wrote in 2023, "I'm a walking, talking masterpiece of masculinity. Testosterone levels spike when I enter a room. Everywhere I go, I leave a trail of awestruck admirers in my wake." I don't believe that. You know, like if there's a guy driving next to me in a Lamborghini, I make an effort to not look at them because, like, I'm not gonna give you that. So anyways, but that's just me. So the following are some excerpts from a post that Adams wrote in 2024 after then President Joe Biden's State of the Union address. Here's what he said. "I was so disgusted by Joe Biden's State of the Union address, I shut it off early and went to the gym for a quick pump to calm myself down. I was throwing some heavy weight around when I overheard two attractive, college-educated Latina career women discussing Biden's speech." So Adams writes that he then went over to talk to both of the women, and they admitted that they missed President Trump. So they said, he said, "Why don't we continue this discussion over here by the bench press?" I said with a twinkle in my eye. "An alpha male is going to push himself to his limits tonight, and he could use a couple of spotters." They looked at each other and blushed before dismounting the treadmill and following me to the bench. We continued our discussion of Trump's successful border policies, but I couldn't help but notice that they were ogling my chiseled arms and bulging chest as I powered through 4 more sets. Adams writes that on his last set, he benched 47 reps, setting a new personal best. Then he invited both women back to his place. And speaking of his place, in his latest book, Alpha Kings, which is full of advice on how to avoid a wife or girlfriend, whoever makes you do anything you don't want to do, he describes his house as a wall-to-wall man cave and declares that he would never compromise his decoration scheme to the taste of any cohabitating woman, except perhaps for a small area for her to do her scrapbooking or host her sewing machine. You know what? I sew, I have a sewing machine, and I gotta say, you need more than a smaller area to sew. You have to have like your ironing station and your cutting station, and then your sewing. It's a whole lot, it's a lot of stuff. So Adams, as you might have guessed by now, has never been married and he does not have any children. Here is the advice that Nick Adams gave a group of young Republican men during a speech in Washington, D.C. He said, never apologize, never mask up, never pick up the Fortnite controller. It starts with the Fortnite controller and boneless chicken wings and ends up in gender pronouns and communism. We don't want that. So like, what is the deal with this guy? And is Adams sincere, or is this like a part that he's playing? So to that end, one of Adams' security guards told a Washington Post journalist last year, you remember Andy Kaufman? All right, we do remember Andy Kaufman, and he had a very interesting relationship with reality. A longtime friend of Adams told that same journalist, it's not that he's playing a character, it's just that he is a character. That doesn't clear up a whole lot. So Trump has released a statement about all of this. He wrote on Trump wrote on Truth Social, he said, I am pleased to announce that Nick Adams will be nominated as the next United States ambassador to Malaysia. Nick is an incredible patriot and very successful entrepreneur whose love of and devotion to our great nation is an inspiration. Nick is a best-selling author, speaker, and commentator. Nick graduated from the University of Sydney and since then has made it his life's mission to extol the virtues of American greatness. Congratulations, Nick.
So,
and here is how, well, we have one more though. Let's just see what Nick Adams had to say in his reaction to the news.
Receiving the call of duty is the greatest day in the life of any American. Accepting this call of duty should be the easiest decision made by any American. This sacred call comes to us at different times in our lives and in different ways. It is nothing short of a lifetime's honor to take the president's goodwill and spread it to the great people of Malaysia. It is, Mr. President, my honor to represent you and serve our nation before King Ibrahim Iskandar and his people. To His Majesty, I look forward to working with your government to strengthen ties between our friendly peoples.
All right, Cenk, I feel like I need a cigarette after reading all that, and I don't smoke. What do you think about all that?
I need a vomit bag. So that's why we're asking in the poll on tyt.com, like comic or joke, because that's what people are trying to figure out. Andy Kaufman, Sacha Baron Cohen, Stephen Colbert, or does he actually mean it? And he's like the world's biggest joke. What a doofus. So because guys, wait, we didn't get to the homoerotic stuff, so let me give you that. And there's loads of this, if you will. But that might be a second explanation as to why he's not married. No, but I'll let you make the call here. I'm just gonna give you two because we don't have enough time, okay? But he's talking about playing golf with his buddies, and he does this all the time. And then he goes, a foursome with the boys will be the most fun you'll ever have in your entire life. And I thought and then another time he wrote, I love watching Mario handle my meat. And he's constantly talking like with these double entendres about golf, and he's like, and then my shaft was sharpened by Bob or whatever it was. I'm doing that one from memory. But so when I read those are so over the top. I'm like, I get it. He's a character, right? He's playing a character, and at some point he's gonna go, ha ha, MAGA, I trolled you, right? Like this was an epic, lifelong troll, and hence the Andy Kaufman reference. But there's some chance he is actually that ridiculous, and that really, if he's for real, there's a good chance he's gay and has no idea. Like, I mean, at night he knows, but during the day, right? Like, he's like, all right, me and the boys are gonna have a foursome and we're gonna roll around in the grass and the mud and handle each other's shafts. And you see how conservative I am. Do I? I'm not sure I do. So is this what you guys are proud of? Come on. So then I wondered, so I did a tweet and I wanted to see MAGA's reaction, and a bunch of them, of course, were mad at me and like, oh, you don't get it, man, he's awesome, or patriot, or whatever, right? But then a bunch of them did get it, and I want to read you one that is a little bit representative. By the way, doesn't represent the majority of the MAGA guys who replied, but it's just interesting. So this guy, Hibachi Militia, wrote it. I've been wondering why he stopped being funny and became a full-time professional glazer. Okay, so I think that some portion of the Trump voters, and apparently Adams himself, began to realize, oh, wait a minute, people are taking this seriously. Maybe I can get something out of this. So then he became yet another professional ass kisser of Donald Trump. And to be fair to him, it worked. If you kiss Trump's ass hard enough and deep enough, you might get that foursome you were looking for with the boys.
Hard enough and deep enough. Yes, absolutely. Like it's so bizarre, but I think he said something earlier about this being like a lifelong grift, He moved to the United States from Australia, but you know what? Maybe it is. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it was, because somebody who is moving to the United States at that time, right, and says, you know what, I want to be an influencer, I want to be famous, I want to be whatever. That was kind of the way to do it, was to become like a MAGA influencer, right? To be an early adopter of Trump. Because at the time, I know it's hard to remember, but back in 2015, Trump was such a ridiculous person, right? Even the idea of Trump as a presidential candidate was ridiculous. It was ridiculous all the way up until the point he was our president. Up until the night he became our president, it was a ridiculous thing. So it was easy for people to go viral for saying like really supportive things about Trump, because that was like the shock that would get people all the views, and it would help them go viral back in the day. And then maybe he just kept riding that wave and couldn't get off it. And why would he? Because now he has a paid gig in Malaysia, like good for him. I guess he's living his best life. I mean, he's clearly a troll because nobody talks the way that he talks, right? Nobody makes the jokes that he makes in real life, But at the same time, it's like nothing feels real anymore. Right? Like this, like usually you'd be able to look at somebody like this and be like, that's a troll. I get it. I know what that is. But today I feel like everything is so nebulous. Is everything like the edges are all a little unclear, and we see ridiculous people and they turn out to be like totally like, I believe these things, So who knows? I don't know what's real anymore.
No, that's a great way of putting it, guys. I don't know what's real anymore either. The whole thing's surreal. And this is like Biden nominating Borat, like the character Borat, to be our ambassador to Kazakhstan.
Borat, yeah.
The character Borat to be our ambassador to Kazakhstan. That's the equivalent of this. This is insanity. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.